coming with a background of not even 1 year of experience, to be honest, I was really intimidated.
When you saw that all your cohort people, batchmates have work experience and they are getting these internships in the first semester, did that make you doubt yourself?
When you have your colleagues and your friends start to get job and then you start getting really scared and then that kind of pushes you somewhere. So
Yes.
you kind of try to do everything that you can basically. I actually had 2 offers for my internship also.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at you, someone who didn't have product experience and who was worried about how am I gonna get my profile ready.
I had 2 internship job offer and 2 full-time offers also.
Wow. You were hoping that this would convert into full-time, but it did not. So now comes the full-time job hunt. Anything different did you do?
Honestly, my full-time job search was completely different than my internship job search because
Oh, wow.
as you know, the market drastically changed within that 1 year. I would say 1 to 2. I was able to hit exactly to the right person who was hiring. It was all those rainy days where I used to spend crying, or like there were days when I just wanted to go back home because it was so hard out there. It's not that you're alone in this journey. I think having a support system throughout this job search that you go is really important. Until and unless you were actually able to get that job offer signed, you don't know you have the job. I learned that the hard way because I had given so many interviews, I got good feedback. I almost got the offer, but I didn't get the offer.
Before you watch this, I want to quickly say that most people underutilize LinkedIn. They don't understand the power of LinkedIn and how to leverage LinkedIn to get jobs. I have built an ultimate course. It's going to teach you everything from optimizing your profile, getting sourced by a recruiter on LinkedIn. There are live examples, and also how to use LinkedIn and leverage LinkedIn to create the job opportunity that didn't even exist. You didn't even know that it existed. Let me give you a quick sneak peek, and I will tell you that more than 350 students have joined this course and they are loving it. And you can see everything from setting your profile, networking, search techniques, job hunting technique, and like live examples where I'm actually reaching out to people and doing cold networking, etc. You'll also get free plugin, premium plugin for H1B and OPT and all of that. So I highly recommend you check out. Link will be in the description. Thank you, Siddhi, for doing this. It really means a lot. I know when we did like an offline meeting, you said you're from small town Lonavala. Lonavala is like an hour away from my house, so I can
Yes.
relate to it. I'm from Mumbai, so that's why. But again, thank you so much. I am so excited to deep dive into your journey. I know we're gonna do 2 separate video, one for University of Washington, but today is all about product and how you got into the product role. But
Yes.
before we get started, let's do like a quick intro.
So to get started, my name is Siddhi Korad, and I grew up in Lonavala, India, and I did my undergrad in electronics and telecommunication engineering from Mumbai. So I lived in Mumbai for some time as well. And then I decided to pursue my master's, where I completed my graduation from the University of Washington, and my program was in Masters of Science in Information Management, where I specialized in product management and user experience. Currently, I'm working as a product manager at Walmart. I'm based out in Bentonville, Arkansas, which is where Walmart is headquartered.
Nice. I've never been to Arkansas. I
Yes.
want to.
Yes. It's a nice place. It's a small
Is it?
grain town, but
Is it?
it's all about Walmart. Everything you'll see in Bentonville, there's just Walmart.
I've heard Arkansas people have a very different accent than rest of the United States. Is that true?
It's kind of, I feel like a little bit in the Midwest, people have a different accent. It might not just be Arkansas because I haven't been to the other states like Kansas, Missouri, but yeah, it's a very small, town, at least Bentonville is. And,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's nice. You should definitely visit sometime.
All right, I will now.
Yeah.
And will I get to see the headquarters if I come visit you?
Oh, yes, definitely.
When, from timeline perspective, when did you come to United States for this master's, and when did you graduate?
So I started my master's in September of 2021, and it's a 2-year program. So I finished my graduation in June of 2023. So it's almost a year since I completed my graduation.
And you graduated during the worst job
Oh,
market ever.
yes. It was really bad. I mean,
Yeah.
I
I,
don't
I
know if people have had worse, but yes.
yeah. I know it's still rough, but
Yes.
it was not as bad as it was last year. I know because I can see the job openings coming up. We are hiring too. So okay.
Yes.
And you are obviously in a product world, product manager.
Mhm.
Uh, did you have any product management experience back in India before you came to United
Um,
States?
no, I am a 2020 undergrad. So basically, I just deferred my admission by 1 year. So I had plans to come directly without any experience
Okay.
for my master's. Because I had to defer my admit by a year due to COVID, I did work for less than a year at Quantify as an analyst, but that is it.
Okay.
Hmm.
The reason I was asking this is because today only I was talking to a student, and
Yes.
she was told by her seniors and by her
Hmm.
professor that she has 2 years of experience in Ernst and Young. It's a big company,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Not as a product person, but as a business intelligence
Hmm.
consultant. And she was told by her professor and her seniors that because you have no product management experience, you shouldn't do it. And I'm like, don't listen to them. So, what would you say to her if she came to you
Yeah.
and said the same thing?
No, I would say I would definitely agree that it's an intimidating path to take, and it feels very overwhelming because I was at that place where product world has always been overwhelming. But you can definitely, if that's what you really want to do, you can definitely navigate and strive towards actually fighting to get what you want. And I believe, like, even though I did not have any no experience, basically I really talked to a lot of other people who were in the same journey as me, and I think that really motivated me and kept me going. Because, and to be honest, after in hindsight, I can totally encourage or motivate anyone that it's not impossible because I did it. You can do it too, for sure. So there's
Yeah.
nothing to worry about.
Exactly, and same for me. I was in computer science masters, and I realized that I hate programming, I hate coding, and I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And so I moved myself to product and program management, and everybody said like no, but I did it. So if I can do it, so can
Yes.
everyone else too. So exactly the same message, and hopefully we can break down all the strategies in this podcast that people can learn from it, and what you did, what I've done, and hopefully they can implement some
Yes.
of it.
Definitely, you're not alone in this journey, for sure.
Yeah, nice. Love it.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's start with the timeline of did you have any internship during your master's program?
Yes, after the first year of my program, I interned at Walmart as a product manager during the
Mm.
summer. Mhm.
And so did that internship convert into full time?
No, the internship did not convert, but I applied again after graduation and I went through the whole process again. But I'm really grateful I was actually able to land at Walmart again.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So let's dive into both because
yeah,
I think since you had to do two times, if there was
yes.
any difference or not in your story. So when it comes to internship, when did you start applying? What was the timeline in terms of application process? So I know the
Mhm.
big season starts as soon as people land, but I want to hear
Yes.
from your perspective. When did you start?
Yeah. So honestly, I did not really know a lot before coming into, and I did not have a lot of these expectations of what I'm supposed to do right after I moved here. I was just about, oh, I'm going to the US and I'll take my time to adjust to all my new surroundings and like grad school and everything. But with time, time really flies very quickly in grad school. And it was in January, I think a few of my other colleagues started getting internship, and that kind of started, uh, got me to motivate that I should really start pushing and start applying. Because after I moved to the US, so the first thing, although I did not used to apply, I used to work on building my resume.
Hmm.
Because coming with a background of barely any, like not even 1 year of experience, to be honest, I was really intimidated because my cohort also had a lot of people with more than 2 to 3 years of experience, and
Hmm.
everybody had worked in corporate before. So I was always intimidated, like, I don't have any experience. How would I fit in? How would I
Mm,
compete with everyone else? So I think where I started with first was just building my profile and building a strong resume. That and after that is when I started applying in January of 2022, and I was able to land the internship within a couple of months actually.
okay. So Walmart
Mhm.
does have the openings during that time, because I know a lot of big techs
Yes,
start
they
like August to
very early. Yes,
November. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I was
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was saying, yeah, I was actually not able to apply to any of those because I was not really ready with my
Ready.
resume or anything. But I think that was a maybe a blessing in disguise in some way, where I actually focused on working on my resume and my profile, because I actually started volunteering for product, like, startups, where I could volunteer as a product manager and did some side projects, which is why I feel I was actually able to land a product manager internship in the first place.
Okay.
Hmm.
I have, before we get into that side, resume and
Yeah.
LinkedIn and
Hmm.
product volunteer position, uh, when you saw that all your cohort people, batchmates have work experience and they are getting these internships in the first semester, what
Yeah.
did that make you doubt yourself? Like, did I like what was you mentally, what were you going through, and how did you keep yourself going?
Yes. Honestly, it did not exactly make me doubt myself, but I was very intimidated because I did not know what to do next. What am I supposed to do? Like, do I fit in? Because I feel navigating this job search along with being in grad school is really difficult. And surprisingly, in my cohort, a lot of my friends or even colleagues were, people with a lot more experience than I ever
Mm,
had. So I think what I tried to learn from them was how they are also managing, and they were also kind of struggling even when they had experience. And I was like, if they are struggling with 3 years of experience, how would I manage to land an internship? But I think along with me, there were also a few others who had no experience and who were also able to land internships. So all I knew is this is what I want to do. I was very clear, this product is what I want to do. I've come here, I've taken classes which actually helped me learn more product. And I think I focused a lot on also networking and just connecting with people who were in the same boat as me, maybe my seniors or somebody from other universities, because I'm not the first one navigating the product journey without any experience. There were so
yeah.
many others before me. So everybody has their own path, and just talking to other people who were in the same boat as you kind of motivates you and helps you keep going, because if they did it, like I said, you can do it too. And that's what I kept trying.
Okay. Yeah, in the I know there's a repeated theme over here, but the reason I'm also like asking this question is because I know many people are right now hurting and they feel like they are alone.
No, of course.
So hopefully they can like hear from you that you went through this journey and you made it. So hopefully they don't give
Yes.
up on it. But now I heard so many things and I want to break down all of them. First
Yeah.
thing you mentioned is profile building, which obviously
Mhm.
includes resume, LinkedIn, which other that also includes a lot more elements. We will dive into that. And then you also mentioned networking. So there were
Mhm.
like three main components, which are the, I
Yes.
would call it, three main pillars of job hunting. What you're going to watch is an amazing story, but before you watch that, I just want to quickly say that all of these story, I compile the key insights from these stories and all the podcasts that I do, and I put this in my free exclusive newsletter community. Every week more than 16,000 people receive my newsletter and they love it. And here are some of the examples. You can see this was a podcast on George Mason universities, and you can see how to network and 10% cold emailing, powerful LinkedIn techniques, and so on and so forth. So if you're interested in becoming part of this exclusive newsletter community, absolutely free, link is in the description, or you can go to udj.com/newsletter. So let's start with profile building in general, because you didn't have anything to put in resume. You were like,
Yes.
okay, what the heck do I put it over here?
Exactly. I was there.
So what, how did you start filling your resume, and what did you do to fill up that resume to make it relevant to the product roles?
Mhm. Yeah, that's actually a very good question, because uh, a lot of people are in the same journey where they want to pivot to product, and nowadays everyone is like, you should have prior product experience, but where do I even bring it from when I want to pivot to product? So I think what I learned, and like by just reading articles and things, is like, you really want to be able to do some side projects or something where you've actually involved into doing product management projects, or you've built a like you worked on a product as a side project, or just volunteer to different startups where you're able to contribute in some way. So for that, what I did was a couple of things. One was, I was able to find a list of a lot of these Slack channels which were product related, where a lot of
Mm.
product folks who are looking for other volunteers to help them. So there are multiple of these where you could actually just reach out, even in terms of networking, to understand everyone's journey. That ways, I was just slacking on these channels that I am a fresh grad and I'm actually looking to get some more experience, and I'm focusing my program in product management, and I'd really love some hands-on experience. I think it's that hands-on experience that makes a lot of difference, because you've done something in product which you can really talk about in a lot of these interviews.
Mm.
So that way I was actually able to secure like a side project. So it was with this couple who who bootstrapped their own startup,
Mm.
who were based out on Utah. It was a very small team, like just 5 people. But I think that experience where such a small team talking about everything and actually building something
Yeah, from
from
zero to one,
ground
the
zero to
product.
one. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that I think that experience was really very valuable, and that gave me that first step inside that product, where I
Mm.
actually got the experience where we started with the discovery, the research part, to where when it comes to launching and like working with engineering and like delivering and all of those things. So I think that's where I worked to building my profile. Another thing I did was like,
And
I think,
and this was, sorry to cut you off. Like
no,
this was unpaid position, I'm assuming.
oh yes, this was not really a job. It was like a side project that I was just volunteering while I was during my first semester itself.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
you were managing this and
Mhm.
your education assignments.
Yes.
Did you have
Yes.
on-campus job?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and on-campus job, and
Yes.
you were also trying to find
Yes.
internship. So, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Keep going. I love it. So this was one of the project which you worked on, which gave you the
Mhm.
real product experience, which you can put it on your resume. What else?
Yes.
And also,
So,
you mentioned the few Slack communities which are
mhm.
related to product. Would you be like able to share those? Maybe you can text me or email me, and I can
Yes,
put it
of
in the
course. Of
description.
course, I can do that.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so keep going.
Yeah. So the next step that I did, I think one was just because my program was product management specialization that I did.
Mm.
So one of the classes that I took, I think I had a really great professor where that entire class as well took us through the entire life cycle of product management, where you start with the research part, and like we were really involved into building a new feature to actually how it looks like when you deliver, like all the requirement gathering part where you
Mm.
have to document every small thing. I think that made a lot of difference. So that's something I'll be able to add on my projects part on the resume. And then I also participated in a couple of these product management competitions that were happening at
Mm.
the time, where you just give ideas on like how would you solve these specific problems, like to build a deck or like a presentation. And I
Yeah.
think that's another way how I participated and kept myself involved in what's happening in product. And I know it's really intimidating because I've been there too, but I think just being able to push yourself out of that comfort zone and actually do that extra effort really makes a difference, and that just helps you overall. I think in the long journey, when I look back, I'm just so grateful I did all of those things.
You make it sound very easy, but
It's not. I agree.
yeah. I love like it was like you did all of this, but if you think about it, this was all happening in the first semester. And obviously you were taking courses and assignments, and every single weekend probably your assignments were due, you were volunteering, so things were to be delivered, participating in competition. So how much time did you spend doing this, or maybe did how much time did you have for yourself or sleep or entertainment? Did you go party at all or no?
Oh yeah, yes. Don't worry. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's manageable. I think there, like initially when you move into grad school, I think I was just figuring out a lot of things. That's when I did not really do a lot. But I think when you get into the zone and when you have your colleagues and your friends start to get job, and then you start getting really scared, and then that kind of pushes you somewhere. So
Yes. Yeah.
you kind of try to do everything that you can, basically, because I think that part where I was scared, that having no experience, that was kind of the driving force for me, which actually made me do a lot of these things, which probably people with experience you will not see me doing, because I
Mm.
knew I had to stand out a little somewhere because of that no experience part, which kind of kept me intimidated for a while. So I think that's where I was able to push myself to do a lot of these things. And don't worry, it seems like a lot, but it's definitely manageable along with partying.
Yeah. I mean, again, it depends on the goal. I wasn't saying that people should party. I
No,
was
no.
just, I was also trying to say it's not all easy. It is going to take work, and you have to be determined enough to do all these things because, like, I know you were driven. Like, you are using a name that, you were also like the fear of like you didn't have work experience, but you were also ambitious that I want to prove myself and I want to do it. So there was the driving force was there, and people have to have this, that no matter how much amount of hard work is going to take, I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
So kudos to you.
Thank you.
So you took all this experience, three major things: competition, your class projects which was related to this, and
Mhm.
volunteer, and put it in the resume to build like a product profile. And so you build a resume. Now LinkedIn as well, like, did you work on LinkedIn at all? Did you update your LinkedIn at all or no?
So I had updated my LinkedIn before moving to the US, actually, just a few of the things where I updated on what program I was studying. And I've seen a lot of people stating the importance of tell me about yourself part, where what is something that you want to do, and a little bit about your professional and personal background. So that's something that I focused and I edited before coming to the US. But before the internship specifically, I did not do anything else.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So, and then comes another part that you mentioned during your process was you reaching out to your seniors and other people from universities and asking for like their opinions as well. Like, how did you find these people? What would you tell to them? And like, what kind of conversation would you have with them?
So I initially started with a lot of my seniors from UW, where in my senior cohort, actually there were quite a lot of people who were in product roles, who had product internships, and who had started with a very less experience like me. So that's where I was able to reach out to them and just asked them about their experience, their journey that they had, and if they could spend some time to review my resume and give any kind of inputs. So that's where I first started. I
And
used to
this is
share.
on LinkedIn.
Yes. I mean, it
Okay.
initially, the conversation started via LinkedIn. And then, I mean, if the seniors were comfortable, since we were all based out in Seattle, I actually met a couple of them, or like
Hmm.
even we could share their phone numbers.
Yeah. But you
Yeah.
found them on LinkedIn, cold
Yes.
outreach them saying like,
LinkedIn.
"Hey,
Yes. Mhm.
what was your first initial connection request message?"
So, from what I remember, it was mainly that, I am your junior and I'm doing the same program that you are doing. And your product journey really inspires me. And that's the path that I want to take, coming with the same background that you have. And, I'd really love to hear more about your journey. I think that's where you start to first get to know of the path that they took, what was their experience like, and then move on into how you did it. And then maybe
Yeah.
they are
So
willing, they could share some time with you.
got it. Okay. So again, I'm breaking it down in even like more simpler for people
Mhm.
to like really digest this. So you went on LinkedIn, you go to people, you filtered it on your university, then you went through the profile to see, okay, this
Yeah.
person is doing masters in information management
Hmm.
and is a product person. I think I can relate to this. I want to talk to this. Now you crafted a message for them, and then this is the connection request. They connected with you, then you would get on a call with them ideally.
Yes. Mhm.
And then in that call, what would you do?
So initially, I would just talk about their experience. So basically, since they are my seniors from the program, I would also discuss a little bit about their experience of the classes that they've taken. Like, what
Hmm.
would you suggest since I really want to land a product management job? What are some of the classes you think would be really beneficial for me? That's something that I would talk about. What was their journey? How did they work through this, finding their first product management internship? What is it that worked for them? Because everybody has a different journey, and what works for somebody might not necessarily work for somebody else. So just learning a little bit more about what their journey was, and once the conversation leads forward, that's where, if they were willing to take a look at my resume, and like, I've been trying to build on my resume to apply for product management internships. So that's when that's where they would spend some time and actually give me feedback on what I've built so far.
Did everyone say yes to you, or did you get some people who never responded, some people ghosted you, or was
Yeah, I
everyone like
mean,
magically said yes?
no, 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 of course not. I mean, not a lot of people responded. I mean, there were very few whom I actually used to communicate every now and then to get feedback once I was able to build that relationship with them. I think there were just a few basically. Not everyone responds. That I've learned that.
Did that discourage you at all, that I'm sending 10, 15 messages every single day and like one person is responding? Is this gonna even work out or not?
uh, Initially, it did discourage me, but then later, throughout my job search, I've learned that it's kind of like a numbers game. The more you
Mm,
reach out, the more, even if 5 to 10 people respond to you and they're actually able to give you really good feedback, I think that's really more than enough. So
mm,
basically, you just try reaching out. It hardly takes any effort to just copy paste a message and just reach out or send a LinkedIn connection. But even that 5 connections that you're able to make can be really strong and powerful, is what you'll figure
mm.
out in the long journey.
Yeah. But the difference is, you are not sending, here's the messages I get. Hey, Yuri, I see that you're working at Auto Approve. Would you be able to refer me? Here's my resume. Like,
Yeah, I
how
get
am I
those
going
messages too. Exactly.
like, why
Yeah.
would I refer you? I don't even know you. So the
Yeah.
approach that you took is what I would recommend too, and that's what I've been recommending in the videos too. Like, you want to build a relationship first, learn about them, learn about their journey, maybe get
Mhm.
them to review your resume. Now they already know that you're interested in this role, they know that you're passionate. Now if there's a position open in that, you can make their life easy by saying like, hey, I see this position, would you be able to help me connect with a hiring manager,
Mhm.
or do you know the recruiter I can reach out to? That's much smoother way to get
Yes.
referrals than the first message that you send me is like, can I get a referral? So
Yeah, that's true.
what would you say, what would you say, did you like do that? Or I mean, obviously you didn't do it, but
Yeah.
do you, when you get it, do you respond to those messages?
So honestly, I would say there are both pros and cons to both approaches because I've taken
Mm,
them both as well.
mm,
Because sometimes, what I learned in the job search also was like, now with so many people applying for product roles, it's very competitive out there. So to wait and get that response from the person and then be able to ask them, can you refer me, might sometimes be really late, because it had happened to me that by the time I used to get the response, the job posting was also it just disappeared, so I was not even able to apply to it in the first place. So sometimes you just have to take a shot where so people do respond as well. If you just cold email them that, can I get a referral, you have to take a shot because you don't really have a choice to actually spend that much time to build that relationship where you don't have a lot of time and you have to like get a job, with like being an international student and timelines and everything. So
mm,
I have taken both those approaches, but I think where I really want to build relationships and network with people is where I want to focus on getting more feedback on the profile that I've built, and like get feedback on my resume and learn more from their experience. But sometimes, if the person if it's a good day, person might even just send in a referral, because that's happened with me as well. Where I just cold email to like 10 people, even one people, I just need one person to refer me right at the end of the day. But I need that referral within time so that I'm able to apply to that job posting before it gets
Mm.
taken out. So that's
Yeah,
something that
yeah.
you would want to keep. Like it's a balance of both somewhere,
Yeah, and it's also
where you have to make.
targeted. So both are different, right? Like one is a targeted approach that you see there's a position in the job, I mean, in the company that you're applying to, and you see a senior or a person working there, and uh, you ideally want to make their life easy by giving them a
Yeah.
job ID and all
Hmm.
of that. You don't want to just say, "Is there any relevant job opportunity in your
Yeah.
company?" Like,
Yes.
don't make the person do the job for you. Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's the point where you'd want to be direct and send them all the details for that job and like your
yeah.
resume and everything. And if the person has the time, they might actually even just refer you.
Yeah, yeah, and
Hmm.
then the other one is the long term, but that long term
Hmm.
will, like, happen throughout the day. That's why you start early and you don't start when you're actually starting for your job hunt journey.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
okay, so these were one set of people, that these were your university. Did you reach out to anybody else through cold, like, I know you message cold email, so is that
Mhm.
different from cold messaging than LinkedIn?
No, so at least for internship, I did not really email as much. I did that a lot heavily during my job search. But during the internship, I think, so like I mentioned, my internship search wasn't that too long. So I was able to get back interviews within a month or something. So basically, I did not really spend a lot of time there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so, what do you think worked? Is it just the resume, uh, getting the feedback and making your resume good enough that you got the call, or was it through referral, or like how did you get the interview call?
So for me, referrals never worked. I tried really hard to get a lot of referrals during internship, but not once a referral has worked for me.
Yeah.
Somehow it's always been a non-referral that based on what I got a call back. And that is, I believe that is because of the resume that I had. I would
Mm.
totally give it to the time that I spent on building that resume that I did and getting feedback and just kept on iterating. So, one thing that I would like to call out here is basically a lot of people wait until they have a perfect resume to apply. So, never wait, because you'd never have a perfect resume. Always keep iterating, even when you're applying side by side. Reach out to people to get more feedback and keep building on it to make it better and better. So, don't stop just because you're working on your resume, because that's what I did initially. But then later on, I realized that, I'm just uh, not applying to a lot of the job openings which are there just because my resume is not ready according to me. So keep working on your resume, but simultaneously also keep applying to those job applications.
Yeah. Did you customize the resume when you applied to the job, or was it just one standard one?
Yes. So basically, I've tried all of these things. Job hunt is totally a game of trial and errors, is
Yeah.
what I've learned. Like that's the summary, basic. Because, like I mentioned, one thing might work for somebody and one thing might not. So I did try to customize where whenever I felt like a job description was very aligned with what I wanted and like my experience, I would spend a lot of time to tailor it and like try to find somebody who could refer me. But I realized that never really worked for me, because I was never able to get any callback based on the effort that I was able to put, rather than the callbacks that I got for one common resume that I was able to build at the end.
So, in this case, another thing when it comes to applying for your internship, did you apply as soon as it came up, like within 24 hours, or do you like,
Yes.
okay,
I
because
think that's
lot of,
what I learned in the
mm,
job searches. Don't wait for anyone. As soon as you see a job apply, just go and hit apply. Don't wait for anything. I think that's the reason why I was able to get most of my callbacks, is because I was really prompt. I used to be on LinkedIn like we are on Instagram today, where all day I'm just trying to see if there are any new openings, and I just have to go and click and hit apply. So I
nice.
would make sure you're prompt. That definitely works for sure.
Same, yeah, yeah. Filter your jobs past 24 hours and only
Yes.
like start with these, and then if you have
Hmm.
run through all of them, then go to past week. But yeah,
Yes.
agreed, 100%. Cool. So what was the interview process like for internships? Like, is it any different?
I actually had two offers for my internship also.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, Look at you, someone who didn't have product experience and was worried about how am I gonna get my profile ready,
I
have
had
two
two
job offers.
internship job offer and two full-time offers also.
Wow.
It was Walmart. They were not big companies especially, but yeah, I did.
Walmart is a big company. What do you mean?
No, I
It's
mean, yeah,
the
the other
other
company.
competing one.
Yeah,
Acha,
yeah,
okay, okay,
yeah.
got it. And so both were through cold application, like applying
Yes,
online.
yes. Just applying online. Yes,
Okay. And so what is the typical interview and the role was product management intern?
yes, yes.
Okay.
Product manager only.
What is the typical interview process?
At least actually for so the product management internship for Walmart is a program basically. So they have a very set of steps based. So they initially had a psychometric assessment which you have to complete as a
Oh,
first
wow.
step. Second is where so you they have actually a portal wherein you set up meetings. So you don't know whom you're going to have an interview with. It might be very random based on the time that you select because it's a program. So you don't know what team you're going to land into. It's not for a
Hmm.
specific team. So I had after the assessment, you have two different interviews. Both of mine were with product manager. First was with a senior or a staff product manager, and the second one was with a director of product management. So both of them were pretty much based on my experience, like a lot of behavioral questions. What do you know about product management? What is your expectation from like what do you think a product manager really does, and like they want to really evaluate your understanding of what a day in the product management life looks like.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
then you get an offer. That's pretty much it.
Yes, then
Nice.
you get an offer. At least for the internship, this was it. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. What's the typical salary range for product management internships?
So for internships, at least back 2 years ago when I was an intern, the range varied from, again, it depends on the location and the company, of course, but based on the range, I would say goes from $30 per hour. It's like hourly based salary
Yeah.
usually. So like $30 to, I would say, $50.
Nice. That's great. And so did you had to do the online or was it remote internship or was it in person?
Actually, my internship was in person in California.
Oh, you were in California.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay,
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
I know they have this, Walmart has this amazing day. I don't know if it's for internships or where
So
they
they have
take
a
you.
week called
Yeah.
Associates Week. We just had it, and so when I was an intern, actually, the Walmart treats their interns like kings and queens. So basically, they will give you the most amazing treatment. Like you have these apartment, like they give you apartments. I had an apartment to myself in Mountain View near the Google campus, and it was
What?
beautiful. And like we used to go to the
And you obviously don't have
we
to pay for it, right?
oh no, of course, not at
So it's all.
all.
So
Yes,
I'm
it's all
assuming
paid
you
for.
had like a lot of fun in internship, like
Oh,
making
yeah.
good money, plus having taken care of accommodations, plus
At
food
least
is
in
there.
internship, you get a lot. Like in America, an internship is a very small period of time.
Yeah,
So
12
basically,
weeks
they
or so.
just kind of introduce you to how the company works, and if you're lucky, you're able to get really a good project to work on as well based on the time that you've joined. But depending on the company, mainly internships, and especially these internship programs that you have, like Walmart has this amazing internship program. So we were really treated well, and like we were actually uh, asked, like flown down to Bentonville for that 1 week where a lot of celebrities come and perform and all of
Yeah.
that. But I was sadly not able to attend back then because I like UW has a quarter system, so I had to
Mm,
start my internship 1 week late. It's not a semester system, so I had to miss that week. But I since I work at Walmart again, I was able to do it this time.
nice. Yeah.
And I saw Backstreet Boys, I saw Imagine Dragons, everyone this time.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I heard about this as well, and
Yeah.
I've done few podcasts now with Walmart people. Maybe you guys should like hang out or something.
Yes,
but
definitely.
uh, but yeah, like so I know that Walmart does treat interns really well, and they have this nice 1 week of like it's almost like a festival for you guys.
Oh, yes, definitely.
But that's great. So it you were hoping that this would convert into full time, but it did not.
Mhm,
So now comes the full time job hunt.
mhm.
Anything different did you do in your full time job hunt, or pretty much the same steps?
Yes, honestly, my full-time job search was completely different than my internship job search
Oh
because,
wow.
as you know, the market drastically changed within that 1 year. So, like during my internship, the internship programs were, I mean, there were a lot of job applications going, and the market was pretty stable back then. And I was able to land the internship pretty soon. But actually, for my full-time job offer, I it took me pretty long, like even after graduation. After I graduated, I was able to after a month or something, I was able to finally land my full-time role because the market was it drastically changed in terms of stability, and like job freeze was happening and a lot of things to take in. So having to navigate that kind of market was also very difficult. So I had to take a lot of different steps as well to kind of stand out or like reach out and to just to get those callbacks initially to interview, because I think in the interview process, just getting that call back is the most difficult thing, and you really have to work very hard to do
Mm,
that. So I think what I did differently there during my full-time job search was initially, at least, I was just doing the things what I did for my internship. But when I saw that it's not really working, I had to keep trying different things as well. That's where, so first thing I did was again like update my resume, work on it, build on it, make it better. But along with that, what I started doing is so a few things to keep in mind. There were like not a lot of companies were hiring, and again I really had to be very cognizant or like really mindful about the companies who are hiring only for entry level product roles, because I would only be applying for entry level product roles. But because even for like maybe senior product manager, people with 6 to 7, 8 years of experience are also applying for those roles.
yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
competing with all of them during
Right.
that market, especially.
Mm, mm,
So, because very few companies were hiring, what I first did was actually like based on the time that I spent on LinkedIn, I was able to curate a list of 10 to 15 top companies that were actively hiring for entry level product management roles that I wanted to apply. Once I had that list, I would regularly go on LinkedIn and like go on the people's tab on LinkedIn for that company. Like, let's say if I want to go to Walmart, I go on the people's tab and find out the people in that company who are director of product management who would be hiring,
mm,
and like especially like usually in a job description also they usually mention the name of the team or like these keywords on what work you're going to do. So you pick up those keywords, you kind of curate your list and find people who are remotely related to what you're looking for or that specific job, and just like one two things I did there. One was I would also reach out to them on LinkedIn, just like a cold message there that uh, are there any opportunities in your team, or that where if I could connect and just learn more about your work. One, and second is I would find their email IDs from like hunter.io or like Rocket Search to go and curate. I had this email template which I used to send them about uh, three top things why I think you should hire me and things like that, and just cold email a lot of people. So these are some of the things which I did differently to even just get those callbacks in the first place, along with applying day and night, of course.
Did any of that cold emailing convert into like an interview?
Uh, yes, actually, at least 3 to 4 of them, I did have people reach out to me, which got converted into an interview from those cold emails.
Can we actually get to know like what did you send in that email? Because I know you mentioned like there was a template. So what was like what are the things I think you mentioned three things that they should hire you. So how did you think about these things in your case?
So most of the times, the way I curated that email was basically first is like you would want to keep it concise and to the point, and then I would have mainly 3 bullet points, which highlighting what each of those bullets concisely mean, like just a a small topic, and then I would kind of explain it in two more lines for each of those bullets. But these bullets I curated based on two things. One, based on the experience that I had, and second, on a lot of these keywords that you see keep flowing through major of these product job descriptions. So there'll be like product strategy, maybe prioritization, and you want to. So sometimes I would actually even tailor some of my points based on what that job is looking for or what that person would be looking for at that company. So I would kind of tailor that, and I would add my resume and just send out that cold email.
Got it. Okay. And then people responded to that cold email saying like, and obviously you didn't know if they were hiring or not. So you were just
Yeah.
literally cold emailing them. And
Yes.
then they're like, hey, why don't you, book a call? Or like, what was the next step then? How
So
that converted into like an interview call actually?
So a couple of things that some of them who replied to me were just like, if there are any openings at our company, just let me know and I could refer you. They would offer to refer me. So some of those replies were there. Some, just like some, as in, I would say one to two, I was able to hit exactly to the right person who was hiring. So they were like, actually, we are hiring, and, I'd love to connect with you for like, 15 to 20 minutes to see if what just to get that conversation started, so to just to have that initial conversation. I think they would offer to have that 15 to 20 minutes connect to just know me a little bit better, and then actually get me involved into the whole interview process. So that's how that converted into me being part of those
Yeah,
interviews.
so you basically bypassed the whole application process because now you know the person who's actually making the hiring
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah.
They are like, "Hey, recruiter, I want to
Mhm.
get an interview, so just
Mhm.
do this thing." So you don't have to go through. You might still have to apply for a formally
Yes.
application
Yes.
process, but so that way you are in the system. But you bypass the whole. Will your resume get selected for an interview call or not? Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Yes.
And in that call, when you were meeting, what did you like? Was there anything formal, or were you prepared? Like, okay, I'm going to talk about these things. Did you prepare for it?
So, yes, of course, I did prepare for them. I was really nervous for most of those calls. But all those initial calls were just about, in when you have the hiring manager call. So sometimes they let you know that, you're going to talk with the hiring manager, maybe. Or sometimes they let you know if the call is going to be with the recruiter or this person is going to call you. So depending on who is going to call you, you kind of just have some of those questions like behavioral answers ready on the stories, or like your background, tell me about yourself, and just some of those very basic questions that they ask in an initial hiring manager round or like a recruiter round. So make sure you have those ready, because a lot of people, I realized, did not want to waste time. They just get to the point and they want to they it's
Yeah.
basically like an interview for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that strategy worked, got you some interview calls. And how many? So it was 2023, worst market ever because you
Yeah.
had two internship offers, and that was a surprise. I want to. You said you had two full time offers as well.
Yes, I did.
Was any of them through this cold email techniques?
Actually, no. Both my job offers were through the normal application process. I
Okay,
was able to
got it.
get a call back from there. Yes.
Nice.
But
Okay.
so the thing is, because I had an internship at Walmart and I knew Walmart was actively hiring, I kind of pushed it there, where I wanted to leverage my experience in Walmart. And since I knew they were actually hiring a lot for product roles, I did everything I could to reach out to every product manager at Walmart, just be there in their inbox. They see it or they don't see it. I wanted to try and reach out to them.
Did anyone respond to that or no?
Yes, I actually was able to get a Walmart interview before that job opened. Like the job was going to be opened the next day on the portal, but I reached out to the manager the
Uh,
day before and she set up a call with me. But I did not convert that. I was able to convert. I interviewed for Walmart quite a few times before I actually converted this time. So yeah.
because there are many teams in Walmart, and
Yes.
yeah,
Like
okay, got it.
everything is like a different process and everything is very different according to the
Mm,
team, the manager, and everything. So, but
mm.
fortunately, I was able to convert this.
Nice. So I know product management interview process is very interesting, especially when it comes to full time. How did you, like, first of all, like, what was the full time interview process for product management? Like, maybe you can explain that, and then we'll talk about interview prep.
Yeah. So basically, the product management interview process looks really different based on the company, or even within the company if you're applying, if you're interviewing for different teams, because it totally depends on the manager how they set up the interview process. So sometimes it would be about 5 interviews. I've actually given even 7 interviews for one company where there was an on-site interview where I would go in person and like meet with the VP and like talk to them about my background. So a lot of the interviews involved. So basically, I'll be specific for now for how my Walmart interview process was. So we had a first hiring manager round who got to know more about my background, my experience, my interest and passion in product management. Then I had a panel interview with other senior product managers and engineering managers, because I think
Mm,
what they really want to look at is how well you would work in a cross-functional environment, on
mm,
how would you communicate with different stakeholders, like because a product manager really has to work with like UX, the business, engineering, everyone to work and like build a product. So I think that's what they were looking. So I had 2 interviews at least for this specific role, but the other job that I had was they had 3 rounds, 3 or 4 rounds. One was with the recruiter, one was with the hiring manager. Then there was a panel interview with a lot of different stakeholders. I think there were at least 5 people in that interview from different teams, and it was a panel interview based on my experience. So a lot of these interviews always ask you about your product experience, but sometimes they also give you like an on the spot case study on how would
mm,
you solve this problem. So like it's like a product design question sort of on how would you build this platform which would help these specific users. So that is something that was asked as well. And then I also had a presentation round where I had
mm.
to focus on a problem and how I would, what approach I would take through the steps and the techniques that I used and the result that I delivered in that, how the way I solved the problem. So that was another way. So, I mean, it totally depends on the company and the role and the team as well.
Yeah, I just did a podcast with someone from Microsoft, and it's very similar to what you just said, but they did not have a presentation round. But when I was looking 2 years ago for product roles, I did have a presentation round. In at least in my case, I was given the problem statement on the day one. Like I was
Hmm.
like
Okay.
when the whole
Yeah.
process started, they just said like, okay, your interview cycle, like it was like back to back 3 days of interviews because
Yeah.
they couldn't find one day with like back to back, so they
Yeah.
break it down in 3 days, and the third day was going to be my presentation round, where everybody who has interviewed me so far was they were all going to be there in that interview. At least
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
how it was for me.
Mhm.
And
So,
go
yeah.
ahead, go ahead.
So I was going to say that one thing to clear out this confusion usually is just to be straightforward with the recruiter, to ask what my interview is going to look like, because they give you an idea if it's going to be like a product design or like,
Mm,
there are those different product estimation, product analytics types of questions that everyone prepares for and expects. So you can build that expectation by communicating with the recruiter on what kind of interview you'll be having.
yes, yeah, yeah, agreed. And so, how did you prepare for all of this? Because again, it's one thing to get an interview call, but then obviously you have to crack these interview calls, and these interview calls can be nerve wracking. You can totally
Yes.
bomb these interviews if you like don't know your stories ahead of time, etc. So, how did you like? What did you do to prepare for yourself?
Yeah, I think I bombed a lot of my interviews for sure. But a couple of things that I did to prepare for a lot of these interviews was one, I had Exponent
Mm,
subscription where I would go and like learn the basic pattern of the different types of interviews that happen in product roles, especially like big companies, Walmart, Meta. And, they have a very good explanation of how these product interview process works. So I think it's very important to have that idea of what that journey looks like. So like there are a lot of resources out there, I know, and it's really very overwhelming, but I believe that you should just select a couple of them and stick to them and just keep referring to them instead of having to search through like 10 different resources all the time, because there's always going to be something new out there. So just to try not to be overwhelmed and just have these few resources in mind that you would trust and just work on them. So I had a lot, like I would watch YouTube videos or like exponent videos and read few articles on LinkedIn, basically on any time. People usually share a lot of their experience. So that's something that I did. But other than that, I think with the experience I had with interviewing so many times, I was actually able to build a very comprehensive story toolkit, because every time I was
Story
asked a
toolkit.
question.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
I
So,
can see the product management in you now. You naming
yeah.
things. Okay.
So
What is story
initially,
tool? Go ahead. Go ahead.
so basically, story toolkit is uh, when you start building your own stories on how you want to answer your
Ah.
behavioral questions. You just have these few very common questions, but you never
Mm,
know, like, there are a lot of different questions that are asked,
mm,
and
mm,
I would just keep adding on to it based on the interviews that I gave and based on something new. Okay, this is something that I did not think of before, and maybe this could be asked. So I think one important thing there was I would actually spend a lot of time reflecting on my interviews, thinking about, okay, this is a question that I had to think a lot about in the interview, and maybe I was not prepared. I did answer it during the interview, but this is something I really want to be have a structured answer, so that I reflect on my interview. I note all those questions down. I spend a lot of time after my interviews to think about what differently I would want to do and how would I want to structure this answer going forward. That's the way I was actually able to build a really comprehensive story toolkit. Is, I had tons of questions, and before every interview I would go through I would just keep reading my document and my stories every time, so they're in there, so it just comes out in the interview where every time that I'm talking. Once you have all those stories ingrained in your brain, and anytime anybody asks, you can say it. You would want there are some things you want to keep in mind, especially when interviewing, that even I was working on, is like the way you articulate yourself, the way how you are able to structure your answers. Are you able to communicate with the other person? So those things come into the picture when you give mock interviews. I think, and I
mm,
want to state here that mock interviews are very intimidating. So don't feel like, I know everyone says give mock interviews, but it's very intimidating. I went through that phase, but somewhere just try to do it one at a time. Just try to set that one interview and just do it. See, everyone is uh, scared. Everyone doesn't know everything. So, the person on the other side is also another human being. So it's okay if you don't know things, or it's okay if you stumble. But that the learning that you're able to get through that is makes a lot of difference when you actually go into the interview. So the
mm.
mock interviews is where I was able to shape myself, the way I answer, the way I deliver these stories that I had built on. So that's something that really helped me.
Yeah. So again, summarizing, you did some of the exponent videos, YouTube, and then I think LinkedIn articles. You mentioned you created a. I call it story bank. You call it story toolkit, which is kind of the same thing. You had
Yes.
list of stories ready. That okay, if they ask me, can you describe a situation where you
Hmm.
had conflict with your engineer? How would you deal with it? And so now, like, go from your story bank. Okay, this story applies here. I'm gonna, start with the star format. I'm assuming that
Right.
was, and then you
Hmm.
reflected
Yes.
on your interviews, and then a lot of mock interviews is what kind of how you prep for it.
Yes. Yes. That's correct.
Nice. Okay. Cool. You obviously nailed the interview and you got the offer. It was amazing job offer, like amazing, probably amazing feeling for you. How did you feel after like going through that struggle and getting that job offer?
Honestly, the day I learned that I was able to secure Walmart again after going through an intense job search in the market, and I was really yearning a lot to come back to Walmart because I had a great internship experience. It was very surreal. I could not believe it for a long period of time that, okay. And it just happened very quickly for me as well because I had started working somewhere else and then I had to switch within a week's time. I
Oh.
had to move places. I had to, like figure out a lot of those things. So it just happened very quickly for me. So it was very surreal and quick and like intimidating at the same time because I was moving on to a new city, a new job, and
Mm.
it was going to be a completely different experience. But I was really excited and really grateful that I was able to land this.
Mm. And you mentioned you had to switch jobs and switch cities. So does that mean you got the job after you have graduated?
Yes, yes. So I
Okay.
got both my jobs after I completed my graduation, a few months into after my graduation, actually.
Ooh, so the clock was
Yes.
ticking for you, the 90
Oh,
days?
yes. So I was able to find myself a volunteering opportunity
Mm.
after my clock was ticking because we wouldn't want to waste those 90
And
days because you never
yeah.
know when you're able to land an op. So I was able to find a volunteering opportunity where I stopped the clock and I kept looking for jobs on the side.
Nice. Okay. And so, sorry, like I'm going a little technical here. So you had a start date of your OPT. You found this volunteer position. You told your DSO or your international officer that, hey, here's my, I'm going to be volunteering here. He updated your service. Then you got another job offer. You did
I
this.
did
Like,
that again. Yes.
sorry, by the way, I'm going to go here. And then you
And
didn't
then I
come.
did that
It's
again,
like,
the third time. So yeah,
did your
exactly. I was
DSO is
wondering,
like,
can I?
what are you doing?
I was wondering, can I do it this time? Will they deport me? But then I just did it.
Nice. And
Yeah.
you just went through the lottery. Did you end up getting one?
No, I did not
No.
get picked. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's okay. You have a job, and you have two more opportunities. So hopefully that'll
Yes.
work
Let's
out.
hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Nice. Okay, what is the salary range for the product management people? Like product
Mhm.
managers, what do they make? Do they make money?
So, well, yeah, I think they do.
Yeah.
So, my answer will totally rely on the job market in which I was searching for because I would say the salary range drastically changed
Yeah.
during this job market.
Yeah.
Initially, people would call out really big numbers, but that's not how it is out there. So, it's okay if the salary range right now is not what you expected. So based on the interviews that I gave and all the applications that I went through in the job market, I would say the salary range for an entry level product manager. Of course, this will vary according to the location and the company again, but then it would range from 70 to 75K to maybe you can even get like 200K for sure in this market.
200K.
Total comp.
Okay, okay, but still 200K is a lot for
Yeah.
an entry level. That is, I feel jealous. I need to show this to my boss, and it's like, what is going on over here?
I mean, it could go to 200K, I believe, like depending on
Yeah,
the
yeah. I'm not
stocks
saying
and all.
you
Yes.
got 200K, and even if you did, that's good. But yeah, that's
I
amazing.
mean, there's a possibility, so don't
Yeah.
hold back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, of course. I interviewed someone who got into Google, but software development. She got
Hmm.
300K.
So
So
software development is, you can't compare it.
right. But
Yeah.
I don't want to just code, so I'm okay with
Yeah.
100,000 less salary, but
Yeah.
and like do product management.
Yeah.
Now that you've been working for almost a year and you've like really went through the whole process of building the profile of product person and working as a product manager, what skills would you like recommend people to learn for someone like you? Like if you were to go back and like maybe someone who's in India right now watching this, like, okay, I want to become a product manager. I'm going to be coming, next year.
Hmm.
What would you tell them? Like these are the things that you should start building so that way your profile is ready.
Yeah, I think a couple of things that even I am working on, even though I'm like 7 months into my
You
job
are
right
like
now, and you're
so
always
like that scholar person, like who's like a topper all the time.
no. I
But
mean,
keep
I'm
going.
really working on this. I think like two things which I believe every product manager should have as a skill is one, to have a data driven mindset. I think
Mm,
being able to be data driven is really important, especially with the advancement of technology, with like AI, Gen AI, everything coming into the picture. Being a really good, being able to read data and being able to back your decisions based on data makes a lot of difference, because of course having customer empathy and all of that is very important too, but uh, just because a user says you have to do something does not mean that's what is the solution, because sometimes data says otherwise. So being able to
or
be
your
data
stakeholder
driven,
might just tell you
yeah,
something and you
that
just have
might
to
be the
build that.
case too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But being data driven, I think, is really important. So just
Yeah.
having that mindset is, I believe, is very important. And secondly, is being able to ask questions and be comfortable asking as many questions as you want. Because,
Mm,
so for me, also right now, I work in a sourcing product team right now. So it's Walmart supply chain, and supply chain is very new to me. So
mm,
people here who work here come with a lot of experience. So it's very intimidating, and I don't know a lot about the supply chain business or how it really works. But unless and until I actually ask questions or ask even silly questions, I won't know. So that is the way to move forward. Is these are some transferable skills which are not necessarily important just to be a product manager, but to really be able to deliver good solutions that add value to your users. I think being able to understand the product that you're building, or like the business that you're working on, is very important. So just having these skills where you're able to ask questions, being able to understand what the pain points are and how you can solve them. So being data driven and just being able to ask questions, I feel, is very important. These are like very basic, but very important, I believe.
yeah. 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 Every time you say I was intimidated, I'm like having hard time believing you because you're like, look at you. Like, you have no idea about supply chain. You're killing it there. Like you have no idea about product management. You have multiple job offers in the worst job market. So I'm not sure, like, were you really intimidated?
I honestly really, like, looking back, I think about it a lot, and like my friends will agree to the day, like all the, I mean, right now it's very easy to see that,
Mm,
you've got a job and everything's really good. But it was all those rainy days where I used to spend crying, or like there were days when I just wanted to go back home because it was so hard
mm,
out there. So
mm,
it's not that you're alone in this journey. I think having a support system throughout this job search that you go is really important, because I think it's the people around you who lets you keep going, because you're away from family, and you're figuring out everything on your own. So it's definitely very difficult. So
what was
I don't, I don't,
making you sorry, go ahead. Go
no,
ahead.
no, I was going to say, I don't want to glorify all the good part. I mean, the
Yeah,
good part
yeah,
will
yeah.
come, but we all have to go through the bad days as well, for sure.
What was making you cry?
I mean, so honestly, although I was able to get those two job offers, I had to go through a lot of applications, a lot of interview process, and like a lot of things before I was able to land those two. It was not like the first two interview callbacks that I got, I was able to land them. So there was a lot of uh,
Fear and
you know
uncertainty.
yeah, uncertain, yes, exactly, the uncertainty was the major part. And there were also times when you go through seven interviews of rounds and you are just ghosted. The person tells you that
Mm,
you have almost through, I mean, because so what I figured in this job market is like, it's so uncertain that anything can happen, that even until and unless you were actually able to get that job offer signed, you don't know you have the job or no. I learned that the hard way, because I had given so many interviews, I had got good feedback, I almost got the offer, but I didn't get the offer. So I
mm,
had to go through a lot to come out strong. So, and I think that is what really builds a lot of resilience in you as a person, and that just helps you in the long term. So, in hindsight, I think those days when you cry are also important, so that you come
yeah,
out stronger, basically.
100%. Yeah. Would you do anything different in your journey?
Uh, just one thing different. Maybe I would start applying early or just be involved in the process early. I mean, that's just
Yes.
something. But then again, one more thing is like everybody has different timelines. I've seen somebody who starts 1 month and just gets the job immediately. Somebody who's been
Mhm.
searching for 7 to 8 months still doesn't have a job. So don't compare your journeys with anybody else. Everyone has a very different path. Everyone has a very different journey. So just keep pushing yourself and striving to be
Yeah.
where you really
Yeah.
want to be.
Yeah, and there will be days where you will see your roommate having an interview call and you're not
Exact.
getting
And you know,
interview calls. You someone is saying like, "Oh, I got the job offer from Tesla," and you're like, "I am not even getting interview calls." So you will feel these
exactly.
things, but you just have to keep at it. Everyone
Yeah.
has a separate journey, and you have your own journey too. I want to go back to something you mentioned, data driven. What you meant is also like, because I've been product manager for a long time, and as a product manager we make hypothesis decisions, right? Like the
Mhm.
decisions are based on a hypothesis that I think user will click on this and this will turn into a revenue, that there's a decision making
Yeah.
based on that. That's a hypothesis. How do you validate that decision is based on the data.
Yes.
So
Data.
okay,
Exactly.
yes, there's 1,000 people who clicked on it. Out of that, 45 dropped out of which they dropped out here. They checked out from the cart. And I mean, I'm talking about e-commerce here because I'm
Yeah.
into the digital experience phase. But now you know how your digital experience was because you understood the data, and you can change the data. Okay, nobody's clicking on this freaking button, remove that button, it's not needed. So
One
things like
second.
that.
I should.
But and the skill here is to understand, to read the data and capture the data, so that way you can learn it. So I just wanted to like throw out like an explanation of what you meant by data driven. All right, I am excited. I know it's getting dark for you, so I'll let you go. But I am excited to bring you back. It was so much fun to do
Yes.
this. I can't wait to do it again on University of Washington, and that's going to be even more fun. But until our next one,
Keep smiling and keep hustling.
nice.